Welcome back to the filMNetwork podcast. I'm super excited to have the guests that we have today. Gina. Gina's an actress, and we're going to be talking a little bit about a topic and issue, I guess you could call it, that faces a lot of local actors, which is the unpaid casting call issue in this scene in particular. But before we get to that, I sort of just want you to kind of introduce yourself and your history in acting and everything like what you're doing now.
Sure, yeah. I'm Gina. Well, we went over that. And I spent my 20s living in Los Angeles and pursuing acting out there. I trained at the Playhouse West, which is Meisner technique, Groundlings, did on-camera classes, scene study classes, things of that nature, and a little bit of theater out there, but theater's not really big on the West Coast. And then I moved here, and I learned about the local filming community, and I thought it was really great that everybody has, a place to explore film.
Awesome. So obviously this is kind of a big topic.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. I'm sorry.
No?
I'm currently working as a scenario actor. So we do like de-escalation trainings for hospitals and jails and community centers and things like that, where we get to role play a situation where the participants in their real jobs, like the staff of these places, may have to de-escalate a scenario that's getting to be tense or even dangerous before it gets to the point of use of force. So that's kind of the acting that I've gotten to here, in addition to the stuff everybody knows about.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's like a full-time thing that you do?
No, not full-time.
Just freelance?
Oh gosh, you would burn out so bad full-time. You have to have like 12 nervous breakdowns in like a couple of hours. Like it's really intense. Like each new participant gets a new like scene. So no, not full-time, but part-time.
That's cool. Yeah.
On a regular basis, yeah.
Definitely for a good cause.
Yeah.
This is a big topic generally, and I think there's a lot of nuances, or to me there's a lot of nuances, but just sort of your general thought on unpaid work and what you've seen in the film scene relative to that. Sure.
It's funny, I had a similar conversation to this with somebody recently on a completely different topic. And I took the position of, hey, if you never hurts to ask, right? Like you can always ask, maybe you'll get it. And then, but then like the broader picture of that though is normalizing things, right? So, I mean, if we started to go to restaurants and said, hey, yeah, I'd like a table for 3. But hey, when bill comes, I just want to pay for, the amount that the cook would get. And it may be the waitress, but the bus boy, I can bring the plates back to the bus tub myself. You can't make every business transaction a negotiation.
Sure.
So, and to leave out parts, we have to have some standards of, what is normal.
Yeah. So, do you view it in sort of absolutes, like everybody should be paying every time they put out a casting call, or do you say there is room for unpaid work given, whoever's the one posting the casting call, like if they're just recently graduated from college or something and obviously wouldn't have a ton of money? Are you understanding of that, or are you like, no, everybody should just be paying their actors with every project they do, or they shouldn't do the project at all?
It's a really good question. I do think people should have the freedom to, make arrangements if they want to with regards to, if somebody who wants to make a film, or you want to give them a discount by not, a friend of yours, and you really want to do the project or whatever. I'm not going to say nobody should ever do something like that. But really, I think that there needs to be the understanding that for an experienced actor to work on somebody who's normally paid for their work to work on like a student project or something where there's no pay or where it's like a stipend or a meal or gasoline, something tiny, to donate their whole day. That's a big ask for not just their time that they could be spending. And, I've come to value my time more since I had kids. Sure. So it's like, if you're asking me to take a day away, that's either like I could be doing paid work, flipping burgers, or, whatever. Like it could be, making actual money doing anything else, or I could be spending that time with my family, or I could be spending that time by myself, like wandering through the Mall of America, having some me time, right? Like, do I want to spend my day doing this? And then the talent comes in too, the skills that a person has invested in and developed over the years. That's a lot to ask somebody to give for free. Mm-hmm. And I think the answer is that it's a little bit tricky, because I feel like some people have things that are a hobby that they don't want it to be a job. Mm-hmm. Like they never want it to be a job. My auntie likes to knit. She knits beautiful sweaters and blankets, all kinds of. I mean, she can knit and crochet. The work is stunning. Like it would cost hundreds of dollars in the store. Mm. So you could get an Etsy, and I'm getting all like ambitious for her. And she's like, no, this is a hobby. Like, I enjoy this. Like, I do this for fun. Yeah. Like, if it becomes work for me, then it's work and it's not fun. And the fun is what I do it for. Like, oh, okay. So I make these and I give them as gifts, or, have it for myself. I'm like, wow, well, it's a lovely gift, and like value it. But not everybody wants their art to be their full time, or their work.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the line where we have to figure out who wants what, right? Because for me, I would be happy to, if I could make a living only doing acting, writing, directing, that stuff, I would. Like, that would be my preference. Like, I love the, like, day job gigs that I have and that I've had, retail, all those actor jobs, right? But it's not the same, for me. But some people, if they just want it to be a hobby, and they like, no, I have my full-time job, this is what I want to do in my spare time, those people need to find each other and make a group for themselves. And the castings that get posted, if I'm scrolling through, I don't want to be bothered, but like reading through a whole thing, a notification, like, a casting. And then you go through this whole roller coaster of, a job opportunity. And, it's not, then it's, totally unpaid. And it's like, ugh.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So you had sent me a couple comments in Messenger when we were arranging this prior to you coming here. And I thought, an interesting thing you brought up was, in unpaid work, also the director and producer and writer aren't getting paid either. And in many instances, they're actually the ones who would be spending the money that make the project. And so if you look at it through that lens, you're like, yeah, we're not paying the actor, but also I'm saying we, because I'm mostly on the production side of things, directing my own stuff. We're not getting paid either. In fact, we're losing a lot of money to make the project even without paying actors. Now, just me personally, I've tried to pay people that, since getting a full-time job and building my career and things like that, and try to pay people more and more. But starting early on, I didn't really. And so what do you think about that perspective of the people who are posting the casting calls who are like, well, I'm self-funding the project and that's already costing me money and I'm not making anything, and short films don't make a profit. And so, how do you square those at that, Nate?
Yeah, no, I mean, I realized I'm in the wrong business. Like, I should have been a camera person, because everyone pays the camera guy, right? Everyone pays the post-production editing. Right? Is it the thing of having like an item? It's like, this justifies money because this item costs money, rather than like a human being. But no, I don't think that, anybody should have to work for free if they want it to be their full-time, their thing their career, right? And this is where it gets to be a question of, are we reaching our intended audience? Because entertainment is a business. And we have people, people in Minnesota, just like everywhere else, go to the movies, watch Netflix, turn on TV, we're consuming entertainment, and the people that we're watching, they're getting paid, well, since the strikes too, hopefully, the better terms will be, you can see what people are making. Some of the actors are making from their Netflix reruns, shamefully low.
Yeah.
But, money is being made. People are watching and money is being made. And anybody in the community here who wants to work and have it be a career, we have to think about how we're going to capture market share, right? People in Minnesota, like to buy local things. I work in a retail business part-time, and it's a locally owned store, and people love to support local business. But I don't think the message is getting out there that we need to support local film. Mm-hmm. I don't know that people even know that local films are even made. When I do my de-escalation scenario gigs, a lot of times we'll talk to the audience and the participants at the end of the training, when we can break character and be real people and introduce ourselves rather than being in character. And a lot of us will mention, what shows we're in, somebody does theater and somebody that has a film going on. A lot of people have no idea that people make short films in Minnesota. Yeah. So it's I think they'd be happy to come out and support or watch the movies and buy a ticket and all that stuff, or a subscription if we had some sort of platform, if only we would invite them to the party. And the audience is supposed to be the guest of honor. And I feel like we're dropping the ball with marketing and not inviting them to the party.
Alrighty. So I'd just like to add a different perspective. So, like you, I'm an actress, and I've been acting for many years, and I was out in LA for years as well.
Were you really?
Nice. And so I get the whole I want to get paid for my craft, I get that. And in fact, I recently, a couple months ago, I went out to LA and worked on a project that was SAG, and I got paid, and it was great, However, I am so in love with this business and with film that I am willing to work on some things for free, depending. So, for instance, Alex and I work together a lot, and I fund my own projects just like Alex does. So I'll work on Alex's films for free, and he'll help me on my films for free. So it's it's more like a partnership. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like when you worked with people that you've worked with before, you're creating something. You're creating a piece of art, and then it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm doing this for free and nobody's paying me. You know what I mean? Especially when you do produce it, write and direct, and of course with a lot of my projects, I do pay me. But some people I don't, or some projects I don't, and it's kind of like, well, come help me with this, and then I'm going to help you with yours as well. So it's kind of like a creative support system almost.
Like a barter exchange?
Yeah, kind of. So say you have a deck that needs to be refinished, and, it's like, oh my God, I can't pay somebody to come out and do this. So you have a friend come do that for you, but then they need you to help them with something, and so you go do that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I feel like the film community here in Minnesota does a lot of that, and I don't feel like that's taking advantage. When I feel I'm being taken advantage is when big film productions come here, and they want extras or just like day players, and they don't want to pay them union, or they don't want to pay them hardly anything. When they have, budgets that are in the millions, that's what pisses me off. Because they, it's sort of like, oh, I'm going to go to Minnesota and people are going to be so excited to be in a film that they're just going to do all this for free. And I found a lot of that. And that I don't like, because they're not a part of the film community of the year. They've just come here to shoot something and they're going to move on. But as far as local people, I don't mind giving the right time, because I know it'll be reciprocating. So I don't know. It's kind of a give and take thing. I've been paid for things, like I've said, which is wonderful. But at the end of the day, if I'm able to look at something that I've been a part of and I'm really proud of it, I'm okay with that.
And I feel like on some level, we all feel like that as artists. Actors, dancers, painter. I mean, we would all be doing, none of us, got into it for the money. I mean, I'm sure there's some people in Hollywood that, got into it for the money, where their parents put them in it from early, and it's about money. But I think for most of us, for people who've, spent years doing it, or, would do it in our own time with or without the money, that's an artist.
Right, you do it for the love of it.
You do it for the love of it.
You love doing it, and it makes you happy, and it's something that you have to do.
Yes, exactly. But that also makes us vulnerable to, like you mentioned, exploitation of people coming in and paying unfairly, where you're not going to get anything back out of that relationship, right?
Right.
So I totally, I get that. And that's why we have agents and managers and that rep to come in. Athletes too, we would all do these wonderful things for free if left to our own devices. And then when we do, but if somebody is profiting, then it needs to be shared, right? Fairly.
Yeah, I think so. When you were talking earlier about the marketing aspect of it, it seems to me there's sort of two issues going on. There's the immediate issue of a lot of the casting calls that come through aren't paid, and actors, presumably, if you want to do it full time, if you can. But then there's the other angle of not anything that has the resources to pay people an actually decent amount ever comes here. What's the last blockbuster movie that was shot in Minnesota? Never, and so who do you
North Country, Coen Brothers, what was that one?
Fargo.
Yeah, but it's so long
from
ago.
the 90s. Yeah. So stuff doesn't even come here that pays well, and so what I see ends up happening is we say you guys get frustrated as actors that nothing comes through. We're frustrated as filmmakers that nothing is coming through to pay you guys from people who can actually afford to, and then we end up pointing fingers at each other I'm losing money, so I shouldn't have to pay you, and you're like, no, you should have to pay me, when it seems like there's a common enemy that we just don't really know how to fight.
We don't acknowledge that common enemy. So people are talking right now about AI and what technology is going to do for people's jobs, and I don't know if I just think about this because it's my area or whatever, but really the entertainment industry was the first, or maybe among the first, to be to have their workforce just decimated by technology. Let's think about it. Before radio, people were sitting around their living room listening to their radio in the 20s, 30s, and then TV. But before mass media, if you wanted to see a show, you would have to go to your local theater and see your local actors and pay at the ticket thing, and your local economy was supporting your local actors. I think there were touring productions as well, vaudeville and stuff like that, like touring companies. But overall, there was not, our need for entertainment wasn't getting outsourced by technology. So now we're all watching the same people. We're listening to the same songs on the radio over and over, watching the same old A-listers again and again, and everybody, elsewhere just keeps getting paid. And then your local actors are sitting around twiddling their thumbs, waiting for a paid gig to come through, when technology has made it so that there are only a few people needed for the entire industry consumed globally.
Right.
It's terrible.
Yeah. So then the question becomes who is responsible for changing that? Is it the government that could change tax incentives to make it more generous for work to come here? Is it people who run the festivals here that could, try to find more widespread appeal?
Yeah, I mean, tax incentives are huge, right? Why do you think so many productions go to Canada?
Well, yeah.
Because it's cheap to film there. You know what I mean? It's that's a very big part of it. Also, another problem with Minnesota is that we don't have post-production studios here, right? So it's they might come here to film stuff, but then they go back to LA or they go to, to Canada or different places to do all the post, because we just don't have any studios here. So I think that would be huge if they would just build a movie.
But do they have any post houses?
Well, I mean, they have smaller things.
Yeah.
But for instance, New Mexico, right? So Santa Fe and Albuquerque now have decent sized studios, and they film quite a bit there.
Breaking
Because I mean, you can go there, you can shoot a film, and then you do the post production, and here we really don't have. I don't know of any film that came here to shoot and then stayed for post production. They all go back to LA or they all go back to someplace else because we just don't have the facilities here to do that. They should build one. And why don't they? I'm not sure.
Who is they, though? Because if we grow our own community and industry big enough, if you build it, it will go.
Right?
If we grow it to the point where we have the proper facilities, because I think the fear is, they have a hobbyist community in Minnesota, but they don't really have, it's not at the level that it needs to be or the capacity that it needs to be. And I've talked to some commercial crew people and commercially, and I'm not sure that we have enough people, but people will come and join jobs if their job is a chicken and an egg, right? But I think if we tap into the potential of the local market and capture more of that market share and put money and infuse more local audience money into the industry here, then we can grow it.
Yeah, we need a better REVIC program, and we need a film studio. We need a decent sized film studio. That it would be huge. I mean, I realize the weather doesn't help because our winters are so cold that people don't want to really film here in the winter.
Although they may need to. They might need to
if they could
start shooting up
in studios and sound stages. I mean, we could do that, right? And so I don't know. I just don't feel like it would be that difficult to do. But it's just never really happens
to build a
studio, a film studio. Yeah.
And, I think some of the commercial houses, isn't Cinequip is a pretty good sound city.
Well, that's just, I mean, they rent you and stuff like that, but it's not like we need a major studio,
We don't have an appealing situation for a studio for anybody to want to build a studio. Why would somebody build a studio why would anybody pay for a studio where stuff doesn't come?
Which brings us back to marketing and
it's a gamble that I don't think any business person would want to take. You spend all the money to build it and then nothing comes and it fails.
It has been talked about for years. It's just never happened. It's weird though. The market is weird. So, for instance, Atlanta was huge for a while, So when I was just in LA, filming it, one of the ADs lived in Atlanta. Okay, so used to live in LA, and then the work was like with the strikes and stuff, happening. Wasn't really getting much work. Moved to Atlanta because things were like hopping there, right? Like things were crazy. Got work there, but then things kind of dried up, and so he went back to LA to work on this film. So it's kind of like people travel and go where the work is. And I mean, I feel like Louisiana for a while, had a lot of stuff going on. There was a time when North Carolina with Kuroko Studios had tons of stuff going on. It seems to keep switching. Albuquerque and Santa Fe still have, some stuff going on. But LA even has less and less. Like the the people I talked to out there on set were like, man, there's just not a lot of work. And so they're traveling to different places for work. Mm-hmm. It's wild.
I think it's actually really nice that we're sort of decentralizing the film industry. Because like I said, it took so many people's jobs for so long in other areas of the country where, you have to move to work there or you can't work in it. If every state had their own film industry, were patronized by local people, and shared amongst, broadcast in other places too. I think that would be great for artists, because there are so many people who are suitable for these types of careers that can't have one because of technology and everything being made in LA and consuming one, it's almost like the big box store, right? It's almost like Hollywood's almost like the Walmart of the entertainment industry. Yeah. And I say that because it had, mass appeal that's everywhere. Everybody in every corner of every small town, everywhere there's a Walmart and they're watching the same Hollywood stuff. And so it would be nice for each, region to have their own local flavor or even their own takes on the same project. What if you took a show that's currently airing on, what are some popular ones? Stranger Things. What if every state had their own cast, their own people, and had their own camera people and all their own people putting on their own local production of thing, and then they could sort of compete amongst themselves. And
there's so many talented people here. Oh my gosh! I mean, in every single position. Yeah, we have a really very talented film.
Well, then there's no reason that our local audiences shouldn't want to come and support us, right? and watch and enjoy, get out as much as they put in. As far as, we just have to get the word out. I've heard that Z-Fest has been around for 25 years or something like that, quite a long time. And I don't think unless you know somebody in the film community here, you don't know about it.
Yeah, I think that's probably mostly true. If because Z-Fest, it's usually the teams and the teams' families that come to the screenings, and it doesn't really have a tremendous amount of other appeal elsewhere.
Is it that it doesn't have appeal or it doesn't have marketing? Because aren't we just telling people that they're not really, is it? You guys?
Yeah, you're good.
Is it a question of that it doesn't have the appeal? Because when you have a limited budget to make a movie, your production value is going to be different from what people are used to with the Hollywood blockbusters and these huge budget movies. Mm-hmm. But it has an appeal.
Yeah.
And I think that I've dragged my boyfriend to these. I call it weird cinema. Hey, you want to go see some weird cinema tonight? And we'll go to a film festival or art house films and stuff like that. And, he's really come around. And now he genuinely enjoys. At first he was like, whoa, where is Spider-Man? I'm like, no, it's a little bit different, And now he likes it. But I think a lot of people would really enjoy the films that are made locally here, the short films and stuff like that. Nathan Block did a screening of short films at his theater, one very recently. That was nice. I don't know how marketing works within a movie theater to say, I don't know if you can offer if somebody comes in and pays for a ticket to one movie, if you can show them a little freebie 7-minute short film at the end of that and use that as advertising and say, you know, by the way, come back to the theater for blah, 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 or this screening immediately, like in theater number 5. You know, I don't know how any of it works. I'm not a marketing person. I don't know anything about theatrical.
He owns that theater, so he's able to, you know, put on those events.
Yeah.
It's his own theater. So he shows some of his films in that selling book of those. I've been a part of his screenings as well with filMNetwork. So it's kind of nice that he has the ability to do that. Whereas, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you went to other theaters that pitched that. I mean, it's an idea.
A couple of years ago at the Z-Fest screening remember when it was at Imagine Willow Creek?
Yep.
The ticket counter person I spoke to said, this is the busiest I've ever seen this theater. Like, the shows were sold out, which sounds great, but all the tickets are bought by people who have made the films. So they've donated their time and spent their own money to make the film in the first place, and then have to buy their own ticket.
Buy a ticket. Yeah, right.
And it's like, why are we not asking the public to come and watch the movies so that everybody can get paid and they can enjoy something that's local flavor?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the problem is you brought up your boyfriend as an example, somebody who has maybe more mainstream taste. So if I put myself in the shoes of like a audience member with mainstream taste, which is not actually me, I don't like mainstream stuff at all, but if I put myself in the shoes of somebody like that and I say, okay, well, there's this $15,000 local feature that's screening. Oh, also there's this new Marvel movie that's out.
Yeah.
You know, what's my incentive to go say, well, I'll go see this film, which is, I can almost guarantee is going to have lower production values things like that. Or I could go see the newest blockbuster that's out.
Yeah.
To satisfy my mainstream taste. It seems to me most people would choose the blockbuster unless they were feeling generous or charitable and wanted to go see the local one. So how do you reconcile that, where if you try to make something with mainstream taste, well, there's mainstream taste at your local AMC too, which was made on $50 million as opposed to $15,000.
Right. I think that, I think it's just an untapped population. I think there are a lot of people who may think they have mainstream taste until they really give art house films a chance. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they have enough exposure, or that the marketing is pushing them toward that enough. I think, people with mainstream, there are some diehard mainstream taste people who will never be able to appreciate, a smaller film in the way that somebody else will. But I think there are a lot of people out there who just don't know about it and don't really have as mainstream taste as they may think.
Yeah.
And I mean, it evolves over time. I grew up in the 90s, and movies had more character. They had more in common with what I see in like independent film today than with the blockbusters. And like everybody's talking about it, as far as like, how many times can you do a high concept franchise like remake and sequel, and like people are getting tired of it. Even
over and over.
Yeah, it's like even the mainstream people are getting tired of the mainstream movies, so they're getting less mainstream.
Don't you feel though that people's attention spans have gotten shorter?
Yes, and that's why short film is perfect for right now.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
You mean like the 90s movies were like slower moving?
Well, yeah, it's like I feel like if anybody has to actually sit and think a little bit through a film, like that's what I like a lot of Australian films, because they're slow getting started. It takes a while to really get into the film and get to know the characters, and then like with Australian horror I'm talking about, and then like it dives right in. But it takes a while to get to that. So you start caring about the characters and the story and what's happening. Whereas I feel like in American films, it's just like, it's got to be boom, yeah, right? It's like, you got to have the gore, you got to have the horror. Immediately, or people lose interest and they just don't have the attention span. Maybe it's just an American thing, but I feel like people's attention spans are so freaking short.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, maybe they should all watch short films.
Yeah. I think and as we call it out, it's bizarre, but it's only 7 minutes, like maybe.
Yeah. Okay. But also to me, and maybe we disagree on this, I actually don't think that the local short films or feature films, for that matter, being made here anyway, are removed enough from mainstream sentiment. I feel like a lot of them are trying to be as mainstream as possible, pushing them into a pool of films that they can't possibly compete with, which is the mainstream movies out there. Whereas if you committed totally to something weird and different, that, I mean, it would at least provide
like Alex's films.
Yeah, well, like the one I asked you to be in years ago, I think, and maybe you don't even remember. I asked you to be in.
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it the water park thing?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that movie is a silent mumblecore movie, which to my knowledge has never been done in the history of cinema before, but...
Oh, setting a record.
Yeah.
Guinness, are you listening?
But it's, but anyway, maybe if it has, I don't know about it, but anyway, that's not the point. The point is, it was like very different from mainstream. Probably 90% of people would not be able to sit through it. But it might be my most successful film in the sense that, so there's this festival that I had been trying to get into ever since starting to make films. I had submitted every film I've made to it since really starting, and didn't get in until this one. And they told me that they accepted it solely because it was so different and unique.
Cool. Nice.
There was no business reason that made sense why they should take it, because this festival is out on the East Coast. It was made of a cast and crew of 6 people in Minnesota. So, yeah. Business logic would say that's not going to give you a great return on screening it.
Yeah.
But it found an audience there of people that were seeking something just very, very different.
Yeah.
And so...
And this is among, these type of movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, even within. Yeah.
And so, something like Z-Fest, I go there and almost... The day after I watch all of the films, I forget about 95%. It's just giant. Wow.
There's always a couple memorable ones. Right?
There's one or two that stand out, but it's not enough to where I could take my friend who's into experimental film and be like, come to this screening, you're really going to like it.
Yeah.
When 90% of what he sees is not something he would like.
Yeah.
And so I actually think people need to commit more to the weird and the unique and the artsy.
Yeah.
Because there is an audience that's seeking that.
It's a different product. It's apples and oranges sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things, Z-Fest I don't think is the best platform for that necessarily, but something like Twin Cities Film Festival, which is taking in films from all around the country and world.
I had a short in that this past.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, with Michael Greenberg's film Stratus Ball.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just
that's awesome. Yeah, well, that's really cool. But if a festival like that were to really try to take as much local work as possible,
which they haven't seemed to be doing lately. I'm just gonna add that.
Sure. Well, yeah, we'll have to see in September. We both have films submitted.
Hey, good luck. I hope you get it.
And now if they watch this podcast, they will not play them, for sure.
Well, no, I think it's in their best interest to, because...
They just love it.
But it's in their best interest to, because that's your only guaranteed audience if you're a Twin Cities film
Right.
festival.
Yeah. Like, look at how Z-Fest packs the Imagine Theater, and that's all the local. Yeah, if they get more people who made the film locally, then all those people would come see it at that festival.
Yeah, and
but then it might crowd out. You don't want to sell out with people who are involved with films, because then you're not bringing in the new audience numbers.
Yeah, that's why I think for some.
There's plenty of other films for that, though.
No, but for something like the Twin Cities Film Fest, I don't think it just attracts the people who are part of it the way Z-Fest does. Z-Fest is almost just like a networking effort for the film community. Like, it's not even...
But it's all unpaid.
It is. But the Twin Cities Film Fest...
No, I've worked on things where people were paid cruising best.
I think it's against the 48-hour...
The 40-hour film project, you can't pay anybody, but Z-Fest you can.
How, more than just a stipend. I mean, I think if we're going to be trading our time, we can at least get, like, points on the back end or something. So if it does get into some festival or, I don't know. But we have to find a way to monetize it better and get more of the market share. The Misfits, Minneapolis St. Paul International Film Festival, that's another one. They had films from all over the world, which is great to be able to see. Mm-hmm. But again, I don't know how many Minnesota films made it in.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a lot of people, even just in the Twin Cities, who don't want to go see the latest superhero movie. And when a festival like Minspiff or Twin Cities happens, they're like, oh, I'll go see what unique thing was made here. And that's a platform for them to do that. But it takes, like you were saying, a marketing effort on behalf of the festival to not only promote the film, but to accept it to begin with.
Yeah. There almost needs to be like a special type of like way to mark a film as made, if more than 50% of the screen time is from someplace here, because then you could have a filmmaker here go shoot something elsewhere, and then still local filmmakers that, right? Like, 'cause then you have the sharing of that. But I think if they market a certain way, maybe put a special little, little blue laurel or some kind of mark that shows you that it was made in Minnesota, or have a special light for it. Like, organize. We kind of have to organize. Like, if all the festivals, Mispath, also we were just talking about Twin Cities Film Festival, and then there's like the there's like the Film Society. That's an organization. I went to a screening of... Who's that one really rich guy from Minnesota? That family, they're super wealthy. They own like sports teams and stuff. And then the one brother makes movies.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, but I don't remember their name.
Polad.
Yeah.
That family. So the one guy makes movies, and I watched one of it, and did he not shoot him? He made them. He's from here, and either didn't shoot the movie. Yeah, he didn't shoot the movie here.
Yeah, that certainly is a problem.
We need to organize our film group. There's enough of that.
Yeah.
Between those two big festivals and the Minnesota Film Society and Z-Fest and the schools. There's film schools. That's and that's all counting lumping all the schools together in one. That's like 5 things, not counting the commercial production houses. If we got all 6 of those entities together to figure out marketing, we could probably produce some really good stuff locally that either, has super niche appeal or can compete with mainstream. Because if we're trying to have the tax incentive and attract mainstream productions, if most people like mainstream movies, right? We have to be able to offer a range.
Yeah, definitely. But until we get there, as far as the work that is offered, so if you're looking through this endless supply of casting calls, what is a rate that you're like, okay, that's worth doing? Because I start off offering or asking for unpaid work, and of course I got people in the comments that they need to pay. Okay, So then I paid, I don't know what it was, like $50 a day for each actor. And I still got people in the comments doing the math, like, well, that's only 6 something per hour or whatever, and that wasn't enough. So what is the rate to where an actor is, what is the rate where I don't get comments that attack me for not paying enough?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, you can never go wrong matching like with like a union production. Like there's, SAG low budget, stuff like that. I'm not union yet. I would like to be. I'm eligible and I would like to be union, but I'm afraid if I join it, I'll never work again. Like literally never work again. Yeah. So I'm kind of waiting for the industry to pick up a little bit more, and so that more union projects do come, commercially and theatrically. But yeah, I really do think it's important for, for us in the film community to try to get on that professional level where we can attract outside productions and local audiences.
Yeah. But I think, obviously that's the goal. But in the meantime, for so you as an actor talking to somebody like me who may put out a casting call,
SAG rate is just under $800 a day.
Okay, well, if I could afford to pay that, I wouldn't be making movies.
Well, no, right, but I'm just saying, so that's SAG rate. And so obviously non-union doesn't pay that. Non-union, you can pay whatever you want. So it's negotiation, right? So it just kind of depends.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is where can a self-funded filmmaker in Minnesota, where can we match what you're hoping to get from a non-union project? Like, put a figure on what that is supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying for a while, we almost need to have a non-union union. Where if you're just shy of joining, if you can't join the union because there aren't enough union, that too is a chicken and egg. I kind of think the major agencies in town, I'm with Wayman, Moore, there's a few other agencies, something else, what was that one where it has like a pun name? I don't remember. Anyways, there's like a handful of agencies, and I think if they were all to say, everybody on our roster, you need to join the union. And if we all joined it, so that when the commercials and the bigger productions come, they have to be union. And then everybody can benefit more. That seems like kind of risky, though. I don't know. That's what I would hope for. But aside from the union, I think there should be a non-union union where we establish some minimums. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, we're not union, but we still have standards. What those exact numbers are, I don't know. And I hope that if we can have conversations like that, we can build in a marketing plan. Like if sometimes they'll put in appealing things like, submitting to all the major festivals or whatever, or if you happen to know like the writer and the script's gonna be really good, those are all like enticing, but at the same time, personally, I would want to see like, okay, where is your marketing budget also present? Like, are you going to shoot the movie and have no money to market it left? Like,
well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You can go by budget, right? So like, you can ask what the basic budget is of the film, and then decide kind of what's fair according to the size of the cast and crew. Because even with union films and union wages, so like you're going to be guaranteed just under $800 a day as a day player in a union film, right? However, if you have a celebrity, like we had talked about, like that film I worked on, like the main celebrity got like a huge portion of the budget because he got paid a certain amount
because he's putting the butts in the chairs in the theater. Right,
exactly.
That's why we need to allocate going. Sorry.
So yeah, non-union can do that too, right? So you can go, okay, say your budget on a non-union film is like, I don't know, for a feature. Let's just say it's small and it's $50,000 or something, right? $100,000. As an actor, okay, I realize I'm not union. Maybe you don't want to pay me $800 a day, but you know what? You're going to pay me $400 a day or $500 a day or whatever. It's all negotiable. And that's the thing with non-union. You're not guaranteed any certain amount. Like you're saying, have a non-union union. Well, it would kind of be union, right? But I mean, yeah, it's just kind of a crapshoot. But that is a good standard to go by. Like, okay, what's your budget? Like, for instance, if somebody asked me to work on a film and they're like, oh, you know, my budget is only like $3,000, so I can't really pay you because all the cost is going to go to equipment, locations, this and that, whatever, you know.
But why should equipment and locations outrank the person who's spending their time and expertise? Like it, excuse me, I don't. You're saying if you have a barter deal that there's that. I mean that's where you kind of have to have that established already between yourself. Like you can ask your friends, like if you're close enough friends with somebody to ask them to help you move, for example, then you can ask them to help on your film.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's really an appropriate ask for somebody outside of, you know, if they're a student, shouldn't they be with other students, asking other students, you know, so that everyone has the understanding that, I don't know, I don't see why everybody else should get paid. Except, like, we take for granted, well, the equipment, that's a must. Like, those people are going to get paid. They deserve to get paid. We have to have money to pay them. Why are we leaving out the actors? And that kind of can come down to, you know, if you're writing something that you can get away with just putting Joe Schmo as here as a human being, you know, they don't have to do a whole lot. I could see why that could be, you know, you just need a person to sit there. But if you need a performance, or if you're looking for a certain, you know, quality that somebody has, you know, then that's their stock and trade. That's what they need to get compensated.
Yeah. So you're taking issue with the priority and how the actors are always the last priority.
Yeah. If you have a community where, if you have, and this is what that one girl, Marie, I think her name is, was the thing, where, you know, wanting everybody to work for free. You have, you know, then you need to have camera people and post people who are willing to work for free. And then you can have a whole group where nobody expects to get paid anything ever.
And that's like the 48-hour film project.
And
nobody gets paid. And everybody knows it, and you can't pay anybody, and that's just the rules.
Yeah.
So there are things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I just feel like we could have that and more. If only we were to reach those people in Minnesota who would be more than happy to buy a ticket to the theater and watch, or buy it as an add-on to a movie they're already going to see. And that's where I don't know. I'm sure there have to be some sort of rules as far as distribution and movie screenings. I would love to talk to somebody more about this, but I don't know. You know, when let's say a Hollywood movie comes and it has their movie screening at a certain theater, and previews and stuff like that, do the previews cost money? You know, how does that all work? Because if you could have an option of add local short film before or after your movie for an extra $4, sure. You know, if you had that on every single movie at a bunch of different theaters, and then you had it built into your deals with your productions, like the actors could sign on to work for less than union rates, but offer some profit sharing, points on the back end type of thing, like for everybody, for not just the actors, for the entire, cast and crew and above the line, below the line. Even if it starts out small, and then once it catches on, grow it.
Yeah. I don't really know how to navigate that sort of world either. What would all be involved in doing something like that, or getting all the parties interested and involved. But yeah, I mean, as far as, I mean, if we have no power over that, like, I think for me, the question is, would you rather have somebody who's self-funding a project not make the project and save up so they could pay everybody and make it 3 years later? Or would you rather have them try to make work in the hopes that maybe if there's like enough work that gets made or something gets made that's good enough that could get recognition and attract attention, that then paying work could start coming in?
Making good things won't attract attention. Did you see that thing on I saw this great video clip on Instagram. I shared it to all my like friends that I know that are in the business and just working so hard and so talented and not being recognized. Some experimenter took a famous violin player. I don't remember the name of I'm not a violin fan. I don't know.
Put him in the subway
but yes, you saw that.
Joshua,
Isn't that great? Put him in the subway. He plays his brilliant virtuoso violin music in the subway. People pass by. Nobody takes notice whatsoever. Like, what do you get? Like 2 people throwing cash in the hat, and one of them was like somebody he already knew or something like that. Nobody recognized him. Nobody noticed. Nobody thought this was the most brilliant music they've ever heard because they weren't told.
Yeah.
By anybody who he was. They need to be told what is good art. It's not just gonna be self-evident.
Yeah.
We need that marketing money needs to be there.
But good art needs to be made, which I don't think it is here. The majority of stuff I see here isn't in trouble.
But your taste, though, by your own admission, your taste is
my taste
unusual.
is unusual.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you stand out then if every state or in every film community in every state is trying to do the exact same thing. How Minnesota becomes the better place versus Iowa, which I'm sure has a very passionate film community itself. I don't know. I don't live there. But if you were to live there, I'm sure they have their equivalent of Z-Fest and their equivalent of the 48 Hours.
I don't know about that. I don't know because
I've never heard of anything coming out of Iowa, honestly. Like, no offense to Iowa, but I've never. I mean, there's other states where, like smaller states where you hear it, but Iowa, I don't know. I'm gonna look into that actually. I want to know now.
Well, I mean, I'm just guessing that like for these states there are committed film communities. It's not just like Minnesota's the only committed film community that nobody cares about. Like, there's other states out there that.
Yeah, I think there are some. I don't think every state has a film production community, but I think there have to be more.
You should look into that.
Well, I know Iowa has festivals because I've worked at festivals to submit to, so they obviously have at least a couple of their equivalent of a MinSpiff or.
Yeah, but so does Maine. Like, Maine has a pretty big film festival there.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have a film community at all. Like, I don't think...
Well, I don't know how you would know.
That explains how we have, like, the festivals and, like, the Minnesota, like, the Film Society and stuff, and not the festival-going crowd. That's my point. The festival-going crowd. There is a festival-going crowd going to film festivals, but they're not going to local. And if the local films aren't making it into their local festivals, like you're saying, then nobody's seeing them, and it's not growing it. The local festivals need to put on a locally made only. They need to put on the regular festival with films from everywhere, and then they need to put on another festival, maybe concurrently, with films made here.
Sounds like a good idea.
So who can do things about this? The festival organizers. We need to perhaps ask them and ask them to work together.
Well, yeah, I think definitely the programmers for these festivals could step up because it shouldn't feel nearly as difficult as it does to get into a local festival.
Right.
Like if you made especially features, like there's obviously a lot of shorts made, so just based off quantity, the competition's high. But if like somebody is making a self-funded local feature, like the festival ought to provide a pretty damn good reason why that movie is not getting in the festival.
Yeah, like don't.
Yeah.
Why didn't Dole get in this TCF app?
I
I mean,
don't know.
you know.
Yeah. And I'm not just saying that for ourselves, I'm saying that for anybody who tries to because it's like discouraging to put so much time and effort into making like an actual full-length feature, and then your own market doesn't even want it.
Yeah.
So
Well, your own festival organizers,
Right.
not necessarily your market.
Right,
Your market
right.
is your audiences that are out there that just haven't found it.
Yeah.
How can they find it?
The
right?
stuff that has the
market.
platform to show it is choosing not to or whatever.
Yeah, that would be frustrating. They should have like at least like a night, like, you know, locally made night. Where
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
that's one thing that we could ask for.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens in September when we get the notification dates for the notification from Twin Cities Film Fest. But it just feels like, you know, because even if my film gets in, like the bar and the barometers for getting your feature into Twin Cities Film Fest shouldn't be that you have to make something that's never been made before. Like that's way too high of a bar to expect. You know,
You can't do a Guinness record twice.
right? Yeah, I mean, there's only so many ideas I can come up with that have never been done before. You know, but just generally, like, if the bar is so high to clear for a self-funded feature to get into a local festival, like I don't know. That seems to me to just be hurting everybody, because it certainly doesn't help the festival to not choose local stuff, which would attract local attention. So I don't really know what the logic is behind not choosing something made here over choosing some dude's self-funded film in Oregon or something.
Right. And I don't know. Well, you know, art is so subjective. That's the problem. That's why we have to offer a variety to audiences, because not everybody is going to like the same stuff, and not everything is going to appeal. I mean, you know, there's a lot. I really believe the audiences are out there for anything. As we see even the internet, like you see some of these like influencers or YouTubers or TikTok, like, and they, sometimes you can't figure out why anybody would watch this stuff. My little boy listens to these real screechy guys who talk about video games, and they shout and they're loud and they talk really fast, and it gives me a headache, but he loves it. So there really is an audience out there for every single thing. Like there are lots of people who will like it. It's a matter of finding those people or making those people able to find you, your art, your project.
All right. Well, I don't want to take up your whole night, but
oh gosh, I'm supposed to be on a boat soon.
I'll try to wrap it up quickly here.
Boats to sail.
Do you have any upcoming projects that you want to make people aware of?
No. I'm thinking about starting to go behind the camera and do some documentary stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Good for you.
Yeah. So I don't really know I'm trying to figure out where to start with that, and branching out. I want to get into more like directing. I have a thing in writing, but I have limited time to devote to these things.
For sure.
So I don't know. We'll see. Right now I'm just doing the live scenario work. Cool. But I really love it. Excuse me. And I highly recommend it to any actor who wants to develop not only their improvisational skills, but like their dramatic acting skills. Because I was always a little bit more comfortable with comedy, and this has helped me a lot to grow dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys are anybody looking to hire an actor who has scenario acting ability and experience in their resume, it's a really good thing to have.
Yeah.
but they might cost more.
Fair enough. So the last question I want to ask you, or it's not even really a question, just sort of a prompt. If there's actors who are potentially new to the local film scene and they want to make it a career and they're open to get paid for the work that they're going to do.
Move to another town.
She answered that so quickly.
Yeah, she didn't finish the question.
Move somewhere else.
Okay, well,
Excuse me, sorry. Yeah.
if you weren't to say that, if you were to try to provide some motivating advice to an actor looking to be a part of the film community and hopefully find some paying work or success, what would you say to them?
It depends how you define success. I mean, for me, working in scenario work is for me the most personally fulfilling and successful I've ever been. I got into the whole thing because I enjoy it, and I've always believed in the capacity of film and performance, stage, TV, whatever, to connect people to each other and to teach people lessons about empathy and putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and understanding what somebody else is going through or has gone through. And I think that stories are such a powerful, and we're hardwired to do storytelling, right? Like, and to receive storytelling and to learn and function and find meaning based off of storytelling. And so I find that that work in particular allows me to, to fulfill that aspect of my creative agenda. Yep.
Awesome. Well, Gina, thank
Sorry,
you for...
another question? I feel like I went on a tangent.
No, I mean...
I'm not sure, but anyway.
Answer to...
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This is fun. I've never done a podcast. This is a fun conversation.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm glad you were able to make it. And if you guys are looking for a great actress and you have paying work, certainly reach out to her, because Gina's fantastic. And she hasn't acted in anything of mine. I tried.
Yeah.
But but no.
You get that marketing budget and we'll talk.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. But yeah, if anybody's doing any paid work here in the cities and just looking for a good actress, Gina is certainly somebody to reach out to. So, Gina.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
I will see you guys on the next episode of Film Network.